Sunrise walk here with myself, Stef and Scott. We've literally run into this area to follow up on some impala that are alarm calling again. We had tracks of a male leopard coming in this direction. We came round the block, stopped, heard these impala calling. They've stopped now, but we're going to be making way down this animal path. Come along. When you're hearing animals giving alarm calls, it's important to get into the area. Okay, I've got a male impala running. It's important to get into the area as quickly as you can, because they don't call for long. Okay, now we just got to keep our eyes open. So we've got an impala, we've found the impala. And now it's just a question of luck, really. So there's the impala. You can have a look there. The noise you're hearing in the background is a helicopter. That impala, you saw him give him his alarm snort. We're thinking that this male leopard that we found the tracks of is here somewhere. Now it's looking in the sand for some tracks. For those of you who are new to the show, firstly, a warm welcome. And secondly, we've introduced bushwalks so that we can show you what it's like when we're on foot in our neighborhood or in the bush where we are. Mobile units that we literally can take anywhere on the reserve. Sitting in the sun, just warming themselves up, and as we stopped, we heard some interesting calls. Speaking of calls, Lucy, your question earlier, a lot of animals can call and get a response from us. That's one thing I can guarantee you, especially when we're going to try and hear them now this way. There we go. It's actually closer to what it sounds like. Now that's sort of an orange alert monkey alarm call. It's not quite full red alert yet, but it is an alarm call. And the response they get from us is that we want to go and see what's going on there, because normally when monkeys are calling like that, probably 7 out of 10 times in this area of this part of the world, it's a leopard. So as I said, that's not a full sort of red alert, you know, it's more like orange alert. So maybe they've seen something and they're not sure, or maybe they've seen it and it's left. But let's go have a look if we can find them, and if we can find them, try and see where they're looking, and then we take it from there. Oy. I think Stefan and them would also be curious about this, and like join them a bit for the walk there. We'll get back to him when there's their opportunity again. This is always great. Early mornings, very exciting, because it's a blank canvas, things to be found on. There's the monkeys, and they're shouting only at the cold, I think.
Have you got something there? Now we picked up those 3 tracks for that gala.
Sorry guys, it's funny. There you can see, up in the sun, nice and warm, but also, and very importantly, a great vantage point, a great place to sit and look around, be a sentry. And the guy we can see there, sort of to the top left, that looks like one of the, well, not one of the, probably the dominant male. Well, let's go in there. There's actually a little track that goes in quite close to where they are. I would have preferred if they were a little bit more sort of into their alarm calls. You know, a red alert is great because you know that they're seeing the leopard. This is more like they have seen one, or they are concerned that they saw one, but they're not seeing it now, kind of thing. Morning, monkeys. Look at those guys. Nice long tails as well. We talked about it quite a few times with the leopard yesterday, how those tails are important sort of counterweights or balancing tools. These guys are obviously very, very adapted to the trees. Baboons that we get here as well are much larger, and they're actually more adapted to savanna life, to being on the ground. They climb trees, they sleep in trees, but they are on the ground a lot. Monkeys, you will see them on the ground sometimes foraging for something to eat, but they're happiest, most comfortable when they're in the trees rather than even close to them. So this is normally where you spot them. And in the winter you're going to see them like this sometimes, just catching the sunlight. Here's the big male. He's just looking around now. No more alarm calls from him. Right here, give an idea where we are. We're right on what we call a drainage line, sort of riverbed system. See to the right there, that's the kind of terrain we're looking at. So lots of, that's the riverbed itself, so grassy, sort of thick lush grass, some tree stumps, lots of bush. Perfect leopard area, but as I said, the intensity of the alarm call is not high enough to tell us that there's a leopard here right now. There might have been one a bit earlier, maybe one that moved through, so we will start looking around again for tracks. Back to the waterhole once more, just double check, and then we'll come and drive down the riverbed. Or maybe down towards Giraffe Tip. That's actually not a bad idea. Looking around here for tracks, and enjoy the walk with Stefan for a bit. See you back here soon.
Oh, welcome back to the bushwalk. It isn't without its faults, but as you know, we are a highly mobile unit here walking around on the ground, and from time to time there are some problems, so please excuse us for that. But we've run into the bush following up on some alarm calls that an impala was making after finding some tracks of a male leopard earlier this morning. We definitely think that he's in here somewhere. The impala were not just barking at anything, they were really alarm calling. So we did find one male impala. He didn't look too stressed, he bounded away from us. And what Scott and I have done in the meantime, while you're away from us, is we've come and made a full circle around where we saw where those impala were, just to see if there's any tracks of that male leopard coming out. The good news is that there are no tracks of this male leopard coming out of the area where we were. And you are now going to come with us, and we're going to go and walk back into the bush down a drainage line to see if we can bump into him. Without tracks to follow, it's quite difficult to follow exactly footstep for footstep, and you've got to use a bit of your intuition as to where we think this leopard's going to be. We think he's moving along the drainage line that we're going to be going with, because he doesn't come out on game paths on either side of the drainage line, and the impala was in the drainage line when we came out. So let's go down, let's see what we can see. If you do hear a helicopter in the background, my mic might be able to pick it up. There is one flying around. In actual fact, we can show it to you. You can see it in the distance over there. They do regular patrols using a helicopter in this area. And it looks like that we just happen to be in the patrol area of this helicopter for this morning. There is one flying around. In actual fact, we can show it to you. You can see it in the distance over there. They do regular patrols using a helicopter in this area. And it looks like that we just happen to be of him on the sand here. Don't see anything here. We're just going to keep on crisscrossing through here. Sorry, could you just repeat that? Hi there, Murray. It's a good question. Is there a rainy season in the park? And yes, there's a rainy season in the park. The heaviest rains that we have are from December all the way through to about March, with the heaviest rains falling in February. So we definitely do have a rainy season. This far south, we also have definite seasons. We have a winter and a summer rather than a dry season and a wet season like they have closer to the equator. So at the moment we're in our autumn. As you can see from the color of the bush around us, this drab browny color, plants and grass are starting to lose their leaves and starting to lose their color. And we'll be going into winter now, and winter will then go into a dry season coming out of winter, September, October, and into the beginning of November, and we'll start having some light rains November into December, and that's when our rainy season starts, December, January, February, March, and then we'll start going from in the middle of April or so all the way through to May, our autumn, and then back into winter again. So yes, absolutely. Let's see. What we're going to do is we're just going to stand here for a bit and listen. It's always a good idea, you know. We've come into this area. We've come into this area to look for a male leopard. We heard some impala calling. Had a fresh male leopard tracks. You get this feeling in you that all you want to do is run through here and shake every bush, but in actual fact, it's best to sometimes just sit and be a bit quiet. Just going to test the wind direction. It's my Scott sock. One of the Scott socks that are filled with some ash. It's blowing into our faces, which is good. I don't hear any more disturbances where we are at the moment. Leopard have a tendency when they disturb animals like an impala, they'll stop and they'll rest for a while. They're just like us. They don't just want to bombshell into a place. They'd never be able to catch anything if they weren't stealthy. And as you know, leopard are one of the stealthiest cats out there. Let's carry on going. We're going to follow this little depression and we're going to see what we can pull out of the bush for you. As you no doubt have seen by now, I am carrying a rifle. It's policy in this reserve for rangers to carry rifles when we're far away from vehicles or when we're far away from lodges. Scott and I are definitely far away from both. And generally it's just a piece of safety equipment very similar to a seatbelt or an airbag in a car where, you know, you hope you never have to use it, but you're thankful that it's there when you do. Now, you also no doubt have noticed that I have a white armband on my upper left arm. And that is for that helicopter that we saw a little bit earlier. It's for them to distinguish me at a distance. I'm a registered trails guide for this area, so I'm legally allowed to be in this area on foot carrying a weapon. It's just one of the ways, security measures that we take in a reserve like this. As you're well aware of, all over the world right now, rhino poaching is on a recent high. And this is just one of the security measures that we take to distinguish myself from a poacher or two anti-poaching teams that are in the area. Myself and Scott, just to let you know how we do our job. So folks, we're still looking around. Apologies, we just lost a little bit of signal from Stef there where he's walking, but we'll go back to him as soon as we get that rectified. We're just still looking for tracks. We've gathered that Q has walked this direction now. We picked up some new tracks coming up into here, but then it went into the bush. We're just going to try and come up and see if he's come out of this block somewhere. But just going to stop and have a look at these boys ever so quickly. In that beautiful light that we've got. Small bachelor group with an adult male and a couple of juveniles.
Dixon. Roya? I got another Mkonzo here for my daughter.
And a couple of little red-billed oxpeckers riding on the back. So it's not always the big animals that they have to ride on. They'll ride on anything they can possibly hitch a ride on and get as many parasites as they possibly can. And that's what they feed on. You can see that they've got incredible ability to hang on animals' hair on their backs there. There was a little, there's another one just there. They can hang right down on the side. They've got these really sharp little modified claws that allow them to do that. You can see here something interesting, the adaptation or the ability. One of the most successful antelopes in Africa, the impala, has the ability to browse and graze. Browse is a term that we use, just in case you're not familiar with it, a term that we use to describe an animal that feeds off a vegetation line as opposed to grazing. So obviously a grazer feeds off grasses and sedges on the ground, and a browser is an animal that feeds off the vegetation above the grasses and further up. So an elephant could be classified as a browser, but they do a little bit of
grazing, I suppose, but grazing is normally a term that's referred to when the animal puts its mouth down and bites the grass off at ground level using its incisors, whereas elephant is more, I suppose it sort of falls into the category of browsing, really. And you got white rhinoceros, or that is a grazing animal, black rhinoceros is a browsing animal, giraffe is a browsing animal, and the list goes on. But it's just a really nice way to stop and have a little look at this. So folks, this is the advantage of having 3 different cameras out. We can chop and change. If we lose a bit of signal, we're going to cross back to Steph. I think he's onto something.
Welcome back to us again after a short break. It looks like we're jumping from 1 to 1 here. It's nice to see. Every time the scenery changes for you, you don't have to follow us around in the bush while we poke our noses under it all. Well, just before we left each other, I was busy explaining how we work, how a tracking unit works. So basically it's myself and Scott. We 2 very experienced guides. Scott's behind the camera, I'm behind the rifle, and together we work as a team in conjunction with Brent, who's in a vehicle. So we drive around, it helps us cover more ground. We then find some tracks, we judge whether the tracks are fresh or not fresh, and then we usually circle an area where the roads are, or using the road network. If the tracks don't come out of that particular area, we get onto the tracks, myself and Scott, and we follow the tracks into the bush, while Brent tries and lends us support in the road network around us. So we can be up to a couple of miles away from Brent at any given time, but we are in radio contact with one another. So we do take safety very seriously out here, even though we're in the middle of the bush. Safety is our primary concern, but we definitely are alone. There's nothing around us at the moment. We are standing in the middle, and right now, while I'm busy speaking to you, I can actually hear animals giving an alarm call. I'm just going to take out my earpiece quickly and just use my ears like parabolic reflectors. Now, this time of the year, it's quite difficult to actually distinguish between male impala rutting and alarm calling. I know you might be thinking that my ears are big enough already. What could I possibly be getting from cupping them? But you'd be surprised how well this works. It's a male impala that's busy rutting. So taking some time and listening, I initially thought that it was just an impala giving an alarm call, but it's actually a male impala in the May rut at the moment, confusing everybody. So I think we're going to carry on walking with this drainage line. Let's see if we can get some idea of where the tracks of this male leopard come out. See if we can show him to you. Stand on this termite mound to listen to the bush around us. And while doing that, I'd like to answer a question from Raisa. Raisa, I'm glad that you were watching the show yesterday and you got to see Scott and I found that beautiful python. And you'd like to know why I called her a female. It's a good question, that. Because snakes you can't actually positively sex until you use a probe. You have to probe a cloaca. That's a common urogenital opening. You probe it with a rod. I don't do that to snakes, and I'm also not gifted enough to do it to snakes. We didn't do that to her yesterday, but female snakes are much bigger than male snakes when they get to that size. So very difficult when they're small, but that python was of a size where I said in my mind, have I ever seen a python anywhere, even in a zoo exhibit, a male python that's been that size? And no, she was definitely a prime example of a python. And although it's a bit of a guess, it's an educated guess. I hope that answers your question. So not conclusively did I know she was a female. I just took it as a guess based on her size and her age. So we're taking some time now just to listen. We've walked up this termite mound. We have a bit of an elevated position here. Let's see if Scott can get into a position where he can actually show you how high above the bush we are and how fantastic these vantage points can be. Still got that helicopter quartering the area. Bush around us is once again dead quiet. Not too much of a problem. Doesn't say that there's nothing here, it just means that we haven't found anything. So what I think we're going to do is we're going to carry on walking down this drainage line. We're going to keep on checking the game paths that are crossing this drainage line for any tracks of this leopard. And then what we're going to do is we're going to re-loop around the area and have a look. There's a ring road probably about a mile from where we're standing at the moment. We're going to be slowly making our way towards that road, and we're going to see if this leopard hasn't slipped by us in all the chaos around here and is now walking somewhere else. I'm going to walk off the termite mound. We're going to carry on down with the drainage line and crisscrossing it. Looking forward to showing you what's around the next bend. I have to show you this because I have absolutely no way of explaining it. Looking forward to it. That is a piece of elephant dung that's stuck about 4 foot off of the ground. I'm actually at a loss to explain to you why it's there. I'd love to say that it was because a female elephant walked past here and just happened to deposit it into the tree, but I can't say that conclusively. There is one other dung there, so what may have happened was an elephant was feeding on something here. I have to show you this because I have absolutely no way of explaining it, but looking forward to it. So that's something quite bizarre to see. Floating elephant dung. For those of you interested in trees, this is a Natal guari, or the genus Euclea. And it was only described to modern day science a couple of years ago, where they now actually make medicine from that tree, or from compounds that are in that tree. Okay, so I'm on one of these game paths again that are crossing this drainage line we're walking on. I'm now just carefully looking to see if I can see any tracks of this leopard. Just see some zebra tracks, that's about it. Watch that aerial, but so here's a nice sandy patch, and as Scott will try and show you, there's no tracks that we can see here from this male leopard. So we just have some zebra and bird tracks from a francolin, some zebra tracks, and an old impala track. So that's about that. So I hear that Pete has got something nice to show you, and while you go back to Pete and he shows you what he has to show you, myself and Scott are going to carry on looking for this guy. Hopefully, holding thumbs, we can pull something nice out of the bag for you today. Enjoy whatever Pete's got for you.
Well, I don't have to point out too much there, but you can see there's a big elephant in the road. But so I'm just turn this volume down. We were talking earlier this morning about sound, sight and smell, building the experience around it. I'm going to explain to you what you would have smelt if you were sitting here. In fact, you might actually be glad that you can't smell. This bull is in full must. We will try and get around him at some stage to see him from the front. It looks like quite a nice sized bull as well. Decent tusks on him. A little bit difficult now because we're looking into the sun, but he's got very, very wet back legs, and he's got this constant dribbling from the penile sac. So, and that's what you're getting this strong scent from. Now, must is a condition elephant bulls go into. You could almost compare it to estrus for a female, for the cows. So they go into the state where their testosterone level goes up 5-6 times normal. So massive increase in testosterone, and in that time they become, well, potentially more aggressive as well, but certainly more dominant within the elephant bull society. And they normally travel quite a bit as well, as this guy's doing. Looking for female herds, looking for breeding herds, specifically looking for females that might be in estrus. Estrus meaning that they're receptive to mating. They're in a sort of on heat, or in a state where the reproduction is ready to find a mate, and ready to have offspring. There he goes. Just a little bit of a narrow road at the moment. We're going to give him a few minutes. It opens up a little bit further up, and we'll try and get around him. But that smell, it's if you understood what I meant just now with what must is, so higher testosterone, more dominant behavior, looking for females to mate with. The scent you get from it is quite strong, and it's a very difficult scent to describe, but it smells like heightened testosterone from an elephant bull. That's a stunning view. Big Ellie just walking on the road. You know why? We discussed this yesterday on Drive. He's walking down the road because he can. And this guy really can, because even if there was another elephant walking down the road, because he also could, coming this way, the other elephant will make space for this one, because in must, he is dominant over other bulls not in must. And that's quite an interesting thing as well. It helps elephants to regulate sort of dominant behavior within the male society. They don't have to fight for it every time. They will fight for it sometimes, and when you get two big bulls, both in must, both competing for the same female, you can have severe fights, I mean even to the death. But 90% of fights are avoided by this must condition, because as I said, this guy, we'll see him when we can see him properly now, but I would guess he's in his 30s already, late 30s even. He looks like a big guy. But if he's in must and there's a bigger bull than him coming down the road or at the herd that he's following, and the bigger bull is not in must, this guy would be dominant. So there's a great way of sort of allocating hierarchical dominance at different times of the year to different bulls. The bigger they get, the older they get, the better their condition, the longer they can stay in must. Full elephant, bull in full must in his prime, let's say a 40, 45-year-old elephant bull at the very peak of his physical condition, can be in must 3 months, 4 months, up to 6 months out of 12. So obviously lots of opportunity there for mating. It can be a little bit more tricky to deal with. Just got to sort of keep your eye and ear on the ground when you're close to a bull in must. This guy seems alright, he's aware of us. Oh, he's beautiful, huh? Whew. Beautiful bull. Just going to slowly roll past. We don't want to go fast. We don't want to be sort of too excited around him. So I'm just going to continue past quite a bit, and then we'll turn around only, and we'll wait for him up the road. He's going to have a little bite to eat. Thank you, mister, giving us a opportunity to come past. You can see that heavy temporal secretion even at a distance. Okay, so we'll go a little bit further along and then we'll turn around. Oh, it's a big Ellie. Nice big guy. East along the road, yeah? Beautiful lighting, guys. I'm just going to give him a bit of space first. Again, we just have to communicate our intentions clearly to him. So he knows we're not here to challenge him. We're not going to sort of question his dominance at the moment. I'm going to go with about probably early 30s. I thought he was a bit older earlier, but early mid 30s, 33, 35, something along that range. Jeffrey, you're asking if I've ever seen elephant mating. I have. I can't remember. I haven't seen it many times, 2 or 3 times that I've seen, proper mating behavior. It's not something you see typically every day. Quite a lot of interesting behavior that goes with it. Guys, I'm going to try and stay in front of him. As I said, we just have to give him indication of our intentions. I'm going to go a little bit up the road and then we'll sit there and wait for him again. There's a lot of ritualistic behavior almost, or behavior itself that's very interesting around the mating, other than the mating itself. It's not something that just happens. A female and estrus would normally give it quite a bit of time before she allows a bull to mate with her. Just walking up the road. Indian Quarter Station, come in. Morning, are you on Gary Main? Alright, then we've just got a nice big Madonna and Love on Gary Main heading east. I'll give someone an update. Oh, guys, just look at him. Beautiful. I want to let him come past us. Let's see what he feels like about that. What he feels like, what he feels like relative to us sitting on the side here. Nice and quiet. You can see those temporal secretions, ears wide open. impressive. He's going to be a little bit quiet now as he goes past us. See, he's not challenging us, so to speak. He's going to just walk around us. Stunning bull. Quite tall at the shoulder. He's not a massively bulky elephant, but he's quite a tall elephant. I would guess him around 3.6 at the shoulder, 3.6 meters. Exactly what that is in foot, can't tell you now, but we're looking at about 11 foot probably at the shoulder, maybe a little bit less, 10.5 feet at the shoulder. You're going to push over that tree and let's go see what he's doing. Lisa, yes. I like that question because you can almost make it sort of two-way or two meanings to it. Lisa is just asking if he's smelling for females. He would certainly be smelling around for females. So he would be testing the air to smell if there are females in the area, especially estrus females. He could pick that up from scent. He could hear them as well far away. And you could also say he smell leaf oil for the females. To us this might sound almost on the edge of repulsive, but for females, especially a female elephant, a cow elephant in estrus, that is the top of the range aftershave that he's smelling there at the moment. So that smelliness is also good for the females or attractive to the females, but he would certainly be smelling for, listening for, testing for, keeping a nose out for a receptive female. That's big male. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
Very good. Charles, nice to see you. What's happening that side? Ngala, one-eye plan?
This side, yeah. Not there. This one up here.
Oh, okay. Farmbang South?
Yeah, Farmbang South.
Oh, okay. See you later. Cheers, guys. Right, just some news further abroad than we can go. It's further towards the east and south of us, Cheetah Plain Lodge, that direction. They've got some lion, but not lions that we can see, unfortunately, but still good to know who's who, you know, who's aware and who's doing what.